that were maybe Carter and Ford. I mean, Ford, was part of the Warren Commission, so he influenced that and kept secrets to himself. And Carter did sell, weaponry to Iran to try to get the hostages out. But I don't think they were responsible for murdering, American citizens that had the goods on them or whatever. I mean, it just, and it's just getting worse. I mean, if we have Jeb Bush in the office, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to lock myself in a paper bag.
Well, as much as I love Jimmy Carter today, we can't forget that, he did have Zbigniew Brzezinski, as his foreign policy. And also, too, when they asked him at a press conference, I remember seeing this when I was a kid, they asked him, why did you let the Shah of Iran into the United States? He said, well, David Rockefeller called me and told me to.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's what triggered the kidnapping of the hostages over there. That's what started all that. So, yeah, he was directly responsible for that.
But real quick, back to Doug Caddy. Okay, a couple of things. Because so many people, when I had Doug Caddy on, they said, hey, get St. John Hunt, come back and have him bring him back. Immediately. The next day, they want you back, like you have no appointments to do. But one thing is I brought up, because you remember how Jim Rothstein, and also the guy, too, I'm forgetting the name of the guy who wrote the White House Call Girl book. I think his name is Lanford or something like that. But both of them talked about a pedophile ring, a pedophile prostitution ring. Now, when I brought that up to Doug Caddy, his ears perked up, and he was, oh, yes, and he was so excited that I knew about it, and he totally agreed with that. Did you ever hear about anything like that?
This was a pedophile ring in the days of Johnson or Kennedy, or when?
That was one of the motivations for Watergate, to go in and get this. It wasn't just the call girl stuff. It was a list of pedophile clients as well.
Oh. Well, I certainly would not doubt that. I mean, as we know, if you know anything about pedophile rings for politicians, it's pretty rampant apparently. And there was that whole Franklin case, and George H.W. Bush himself, is being dragged into that. Some of the children. Point him out and saying, well, he was there, and that whole thing, the whole Franklin pedophile case is just crazy. I haven't read anything about it. I just know a little bit that it existed, and everybody got away, except the children that were damaged.
Well, I had Nick Bryan on the show. We did a couple hours on that, and then I also had Tim Tate, who did the documentary, the BBC documentary, Conspiracy of Silence, I think it's called. That was silenced right before it was about to.
Right, it was. Yeah, it was never released.
Yeah. I had him on the show too.
That happened.
Yeah,
How do you get in touch with all these? These are like cool people. I mean, how do you get these people to go on your show? It's amazing. Well, it's so good.
Just before, like, you mentioned the name, and I says, okay, put me in touch with him. But listen to this, man. You didn't hear it because I wasn't. I didn't call you up before I was making the announcement. But I had a guest on a couple of months back, Betty Metzger, who was one of the. She wrote the book The Burglary, about the activists who broke into the FBI office and they discovered the COINTEL program. So,
oh wow!
Yes, I had her on the show.
It's so good.
Yeah,
Your work is so important and so good. I really commend and respect you for what you do. Your continued push for truth and exposure of these sordid criminals, that seem to be running our lives politically. You do great work, and you're a really good interviewer.
Thank you so much. But listen, I didn't even get to the good part yet. Because me and Betty Metzger, we become buddies on Facebook, and talking off the air.
Oh, good.
Tonight, she's meeting with Edward Snowden. Right now, tonight. Her and the burglars, because the whistleblowers back who did this burglary, they're all meeting with Edward Snowden tonight, and we're going to be doing a show about their meeting with Edward Snowden.
I'm sorry, who's Edward Snowden?
The NSA guy who he's hiding out in Russia.
Oh, the national security guy?
Yeah.
Oh my God! And they're all meeting. Well, we better keep that location quiet because.
No, it's like a seminar. They're doing it. You can buy tickets to listen to it.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff we're working on, man. But one more question again, back to Doug Caddy. Because he also said that one of the reasons, the motivations for the burglary, was that Castro had written a report. Castro had done an investigation on the JFK assassination, and that was supposedly there at the location too as well. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, that's true. Like like we were talking about earlier, there was many levels of and many fingers out there for different reasons. But certainly one of them was that Castro had compiled. It wasn't a report specifically and singularly of the JFK assassination, but what it was a report of all the attempts thus far on Castro's life. He had arrest pictures of the contract assassins that were sent to kill him, and their weaponry that they had, their poison darts and gun whatnot, and he had compiled this list, and they had it. The Democrats had it somehow. My father also, not many people know this, but he broke into the Chilean embassy before the Watergate break-in and searching for that book, for that manuscript or whatever. There was Nixon thought that it was there for some reason.
The one about the Castro investigative report was at the Chilean embassy.
Yeah.
Okay, well then,
they broke successfully into the Chilean embassy to search for that book, and it wasn't there apparently.
So I guess Nixon wanted to see a copy of it, because just stealing the copy doesn't matter, because Castro would just send another one.
Yeah, well, Dick Helms and Hoover were being absolutely uncooperative with Nixon's requests for different things relating to the Bay of Pigs or Castro assassinations. He wanted to know what they knew about what he was involved in, and they just stonewalled him, month after month, until he finally got so sick of it. Hoover was asked to wiretap, some leftist radical phones and this and that, and he refused. Dick Helms was not going to give Nixon anything that he asked for relating to the CIA, and so that's why he built his own, covert ops investigators, the plumbers, so he could handle his own stuff and not have to rely on the CIA or FBI for help. But he wanted all that information. He wanted to know what they knew about him. Nixon was paranoid like that. That's what brought him down, really. In the long run.
But don't you think everybody does that?
Yes. I think it had been going on for a long time, and I think it never stopped.
Obviously, LBJ had to have his own crew too.
George Bush, he's asked to testify, in the closed door section, about what Iran-Contra or whatever, and he just flatly comes out and says, "No, I don't testify.
Yeah.
I'll have a conversation with somebody, but no, I don't testify." The audacity of that! You're just an American citizen. Yeah, you're president. They ripped Clinton for it. Nixon got practically impeached because he refused to cooperate. And these guys, Bush and that whole bunch of guys, they just look at people and go, "No, I don't testify. No, I don't do that." And it's mind-boggling. It's an embarrassment to me as an American citizen. I love my country, but please, this is not the country it used to be.
I just had on Dr. Jeffrey Caulfield, who wrote that book about General Walker. It just came out like 2 days ago. And
General Walker?
Yeah.
The guy that Oswald tried to shoot?
Yeah, supposedly, yeah. And he spoke about this too as well, that there was an FBI agent that was investigating that refused to testify as well. Now, was there any connection between your dad and that whole Walker crew and those bunch?
I don't know that there was, but there certainly was. Walker was, he was really right wing. He was racist and all this stuff. And, and I don't think he and my dad would have ever their paths would have crossed. But My dad was definitely involved with one of his best friends was General Singlab, who I met a few times at the house, and I'm just finding out some horrible things about him. Like these guys smile at you and they shake your hand and they chit chat whatever, but they're just monsters. They're cold-blooded killers, all in the name of patriotism. But my dad stood behind that till he died. He didn't regret anything he did, and he had no guilt or remorse. He was actually continued to stand by that he felt Kennedy should have been killed, and was glad he did. He was killed. He'd stomp around the house going, we got to finish the job and hit Ted. I remember him saying that many, many times. What a guy. What a guy.
I know. We talked about it the last time, but my mother, too. My mother was Cuban. My mother is Cuban, my uncles. And they would always say, Kennedy was a communist. Kennedy was a communist.
Yeah. That's absurd. But, that's the spin on things. It's what people believe. It becomes so cemented in their fibers that
and the rage that would come over them,
Yeah.
They hated.
I'm going to introduce Judith Baker at the conference in October, and one of the things I've been thinking about what I'm going to say, but it's like with so many, while we don't actually know who killed Kennedy, we know who didn't, and that's Lee Harvey Oswald. That's a simple diagnosis that anyone can make. We don't know who did, although we do, but we definitely know who didn't. And I think that's going to be the thrust of the whole weekend there. It's going to be fascinating. Some great speakers. It's not too expensive, and I look forward to meeting up. We're going to have a jam session there. Chris bringing his guitar. I'm bringing my guitar. We're going to play some Lee Harvey Oswald blues.
Just so people get an idea, I was reading off the list when Chris was on earlier, but Ed Haslam, the author of Dr. Mary's Monkey, Judith Baker, Oswald's girlfriend, Jim Mars is going to be there, Ed Tatro, who wrote Oliver Stone's JFK, Robert Grodin's going to be there?
Yeah.
Okay,
the
Robert.
Man himself.
Yeah, fascinating. A photographic expert, Robert Grodin. I got to get him on the show. Joan Mellon, a biographer of Jim Garrison. Russ Baker.
Russ Baker wrote a skating book on the Bushes.
Oh, really? Okay. Roger Stone, you were just mentioning before. He's your co-author on this book about Bush.
Yep.
Daniel Hopsicker. Had Daniel Hopsicker on the show just about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, you did?
Oh, second time, yeah.
I wish I could get a copy of his book, but, you can't find it for under like $200 anywhere. It's like, I don't know why it's not reprinted, or is this something he does maliciously to people? It's not available anywhere. I mean, is he like it or not?
Well, he just did this report. I don't know if you saw it, about the parents of, who's that guy? Vince Vaughn, the actor?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to look that up, man. Vince Vaughn's parents are involved with these banks, these phony banks that are drug smuggling banks and money laundering banks.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and it's all pretty much right out in the open, too. He does some great work, man. Daniel Hopsicker, I keep saying it, man. This guy should have a Pulitzer Prize. Then St. John Hunt, the author of Bond of Secrecy.
Bond of Secrecy.
Yeah, I got to put
and
that up,
Dorothy.
too. Elliot Todd, Rose by many other names. So great list of speakers here and stuff like that. Anybody should go down there and check this out, because you get to meet these fascinating people. It's a very intimate setting.
We're going to do a walking tour. There's a walking tour going on every couple times a day of all the Oswald sites in New Orleans, starting out with Camp Street. The building's not there anymore, but still the intersection is there, and the Riley Coffee Company and the Matt place he was working at, and the David Ferry's house of boys and illicit goings on, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a whole fascinating thing too, as well.
Ferry and Barry Seal and Tosh Plumley, these guys all knew each other.
I got to get Tosh Plumley. I got to get him on the show. Yeah, I got to get a hold of him. That's an interesting guy. But, speaking of Ferry and all these guys, because when I was talking to this guy yesterday, this Dr. Caulfield, because, what's his name? General